Strange times in the Big Easy. Anthony Davis is expected to return to the lineup after resting during Saturday's win over the Lakers. The Philadelphia 76ers are in town tonight. Here's AD warming up as if to prove the point. A DNP and a 20-minute performance since the All-Star break for Davis amid all the controversy swirling about in New Orleans. They'll take on a Sixers team without Joel Embiid tonight, but with Tobias Harris, who has averaged 19 a game on 53% shooting in his 6 games in Sixer red, white, and blue. Hey everybody, it's game night. Hi, it's the Auto Trader pregame show here from our Atlanta studio. I'm Matt Weiner. We got Derek Fisher. We got the Flyer, David Griffin, right over there.
Monsignor.
Good to have you with us. Sixers and Pelicans coming up tonight. Joel Embiid, as I mentioned, is out for the Sixers, which looked out of sorts Saturday against the Portland Trail Blazers. Portland came in and dominated in Philly, winning each of the first 3 quarters to take an 18-point lead. They scored 41 in that third quarter. The Blazers out-rebounded the Sixers by 20, and Yusuf Nurkic went for 24 and 10 boards as the Sixers went mostly small after halftime. Something to watch tonight. Part of that advantage was on the boards, was on the offensive end, where the Blazers turned 19 rebounds into 19 second chance points. A chance to bounce back tonight against the Pelicans. Earlier today, Jared Greenberg caught up with Tobias Harris.
All right, so I want to bring up Saturday, but not the game, the other game.
Yeah.
You checking out an outdoor hockey game, meeting the city of Philadelphia. What was that like for you, seeing those passionate sports fans in Philadelphia?
It was awesome. I mean, to see the energy that was at place there, and to see a different experience. I've never really been to a hockey game before, and especially one outside and in front of that many amount of fans just showed the passion of the city and how much they love their sports team. So it was a great experience.
Listen, you're a New Yorker, though, right? And you're playing for the Sixers. You got to pretend like you're rooting for the Flyers, right? Is that a hard experience for you?
No, it wasn't too hard. I mean, as I said, I ain't been to too many hockey games, but that one was a new experience, and that I've been initiated. That's my new team now to follow, so it's cool.
Your friends on Long Island hearing that?
Yeah, that's all right. I don't care.
Well, let's get to what happened before that earlier in the day. And listen, obviously it was a tough assignment for you guys to bring this collection of talent together in a short amount of time and figure out how to make it work. It's a good thing. We all know that. But without Joel, how much more difficult is that now to figure out the roles for everybody on the offensive end?
It's just an adjustment for us so far. So biggest thing that we can do is continue to have confidence in just the system that we have at hand and playing off each other. And I thought, obviously this thing is going to take a little bit of time, but when it does, marinate in the way that we want it to go in the direction, it's going to be really special. So without having Joel is a huge piece for us, but we need other guys to step up and just, have some bigger roles there and be able to be confident into taking those roles. So it's going to be a big step for us, especially, with the progression of the season and going into the playoffs.
For all the different teams you've played on and all the different roles you've been asked to play throughout your very short NBA career so far, do you have to, or not only you, but everybody, do you have to look at the box score ever and say, all right, a guy like Jimmy Butler's got to get more shots, or I got to get more shots, just to make sure the offense is going in the right direction?
I think it's less on the box score and more on the type of pace that we're playing at and the flow that we're playing at. We know when the ball moves, regardless of who gets the shots, we're going to get great looks, especially with the talent level on this team. So less about the box score, more about the flow of the game and how we're playing with one another and going out there and playing together.
All right, last thing for you. Tell me about tonight's game. Anthony Davis will play. How do you attack this Pelicans defense?
Just impose our will. I mean, we're going to have different matchups out there that we know we can exploit, and it's going at that, playing at a great pace and defensively being able to stop, Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, and their shooting guards. So that'll be our key today.
Appreciate the time before the game, Tobias.
No problem. Thank you.
There he is. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll hear from Jared a little later on as well. So the Sixers are now 2-4 without Embiid in the lineup this season. Not surprisingly, the offense is worse, the defense is worse, and the rim protection is lacking in a big, big way. Is there any way to sort of quantify, other than those numbers, how big a void is left in that Philly attack?
Yeah, the numbers seem to tell us the whole story, and that's how valuable Joel Embiid is to this team. Most importantly, the defensive numbers jump out. We love to talk about his offensive game and how versatile he is, but he prides himself on playing defense, and those numbers show it. One of the most important parts about defense is securing rebounds. And that's where the Sixers really got beat up by the Blazers, as you saw there.
Yep.
Nurkic just pushing Boban underneath the basket. Here with the smaller lineup, Enes Kanter, one of the best offensive rebounders in the game, just controlling and dominating the paint again. But then offensively, you see here, Kanter can just play center field with Embiid off the floor. Also allows Seth Curry not to have to worry about being in any help positions.
Right.
He can just concentrate on staying body tight to Redick. And so when you take Embiid off the floor defensively, the Sixers got beat up physically, 19 offensive boards for 19 points. But then offensively, the floor gets smaller.
Right.
And you saw J.J. Redick struggle to shoot the ball.
He was just 1 of 10 in that game on Saturday. And if you look over the course of the season, his net rating basically flip-flops when he's with or without Joel Embiid on the floor.
And since Tobias Harris has got there, he's been that way with Tobias Harris on the court because the weak side defender is actually paying attention to Tobias now. So any of the movement and any of the running off of pin downs and those types of things that JJ would do utilizing a Joel screen doesn't exist, and the defense reacts completely differently. But to your point about the Sixers defense and the absence of Embiid, when they played their first game with Tobias Harris in that lineup, I think they got off to a 17-6 start in that game. And defensively, they were stifling. Joel was everywhere. And it's a little different thing. You can still be supersized with Boban on the court, but you're not nearly as rangy defensively. And that makes a big difference for that team.
Well, in the first half, they just kept putting Marjanovic in pick and rolls. That didn't work, and he basically didn't play in the second half. I think 3 minutes.
Well, when you go small, you basically chase him off the court.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, to your point, Fish, when they went small and they kept Kanter on the court and went small around him, Kanter was able to do work in the paint, and there was nobody for Kanter to focus on guarding, which is a good thing because that's not his strong suit.
Correct.
So Portland got all of his strengths and didn't have to deal with any of his weaknesses that night.
Yeah. When you're missing Embiid, that's what happens. It allows for the opposing bigs to really just focus on providing help defense.
There's a look at Boban, the big fella. We'll see how much run he gets tonight against a bigger-looking Pelicans team with Davis in the lineup tonight. And they have some bigs who have been productive here lately, including Jahlil
Sage and Kevin back with you after miss.
And Sheikh Diallo.
What's interesting is Okafor, who high draft pick, I think he went number 3 in the draft, seemed to almost be forgotten and almost out of the league. And then here in New Orleans, he's found an opportunity to get minutes and show that he's capable of playing at this level. And it's a great lesson for so many people in our league because everybody's time isn't right now.
Right.
But just remaining patient, working hard. Okafor's done a great job. Diallo's done a really good job. And to think about the center position with all of the controversy surrounding Anthony Davis, you got to give these guys a lot of credit, and Alvin Gentry for trusting, and obviously his staff helping these guys develop on a daily basis.
And again, they've won 2 of 3 coming into this one against the Philadelphia 76ers. And if you're just with us, Anthony Davis is expected to play tonight. We'll see if he's around that 20-25-minute mark that we sort of anticipate. But let it play out tonight in New Orleans. Drew Holiday's minutes maybe coming down as well down the stretch, as the Pelicans are a team that likes to play transition ball and a franchise very much in transition.
You can't see Drew Holiday. You can't see Jimmy Butler in the background. And that he was wearing a purple suit, Jimmy Butler.
Not everybody can pull that off. For Alvin Gentry this season, the Anthony Davis situation, obviously, and tons of injuries. Elfrid Payton just returned to the lineup. It'll be his 3rd game back from an ankle injury as the Pelicans take on the Sixers tonight. Once again, here's Jared Greenberg with the head coach, Alvin Gentry.
Well, coming off of Saturday night and the opportunity that your team took advantage of, it's got to be quite the feeling for you and this organization right now.
Well, I think what we got is we got a bunch of hard-playing guys, and you know, we've kind of tried to put everything behind us and just play basketball. I think that's the most important thing right now, and we got a group that plays hard and they play unselfishly, and you know, they try to execute, and so that's all you can ask from your group, I think.
How proud are you of some of those young guys like Diallo and Kendrick and some of these guys, how they took advantage of that opportunity?
Well, it's not so much a surprise when you know that the work that they put in, Kendrick, Jack, Frank, those guys are in here first thing, long before practice start. They get in their player development work. They practice hard. So when you do that, you know that at some point you'll have some success. And obviously you're going to have some growing pains also. But just the fact that they put in the work, I think, is going to give them an opportunity to have some success.
But still young in terms of NBA years. So how would you describe how they've handled what has gone on here the last few weeks?
I think they've also had people that have tried to help them. And you're right. That when you're in a situation like that, I mean, it can have mentally, it can really affect you. But I think that, I think guys like Drew has tried to help them through this and have them focus and understand that that's going to be the most important thing, to just try to play hard and compete at a high level and try to do whatever you have to try to win games.
Is it fair to say that it's only natural for the mentality to switch a little bit in a game like tonight when you've got a team like Philadelphia and you have AD playing as opposed to the Lakers without AD playing?
Well, yeah, because I think there's a little bit of desperation involved and stuff. But I think our guys, I think we're getting back to the normal, whatever our new normal is. I think we're kind of getting back to that. And, AD's a great player, and he's going to try to compete as hard as he can. And when that happens, we'll be fine. I think, like I said, everything is out and on the table. And I think now what we're just trying to do is get back to playing basketball.
Do you know going into each night what the game plan will be for Anthony?
Yeah, we know when he's, we've got a general idea of what's going to happen and stuff like that. And, the big question is, what do we do it back to back? So other than that, though, we're pretty sure in what we're trying to do. And the great thing about it is that we're totally transparent with him, too. We sit down, we talk about it. Obviously it's our decision, but we make sure that he understands, what we're exactly trying to do also.
Do you get a sense from him that he wants more or he's okay with the process? How does that conversation go?
I think he's fine with where it is. I think the big thing is that, just having the knowledge of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to put together, and he has that, and I think he's fine with it. That, obviously that would be a question that you'd have to ask him, but in my opinion, I think that he's fine with it.
Saw you speaking for a long time with Danny here at the end of shoot around. Can you give us some insight into what the conversation about the direction and what the goals are here over the next 20 games or so?
I think for us it's just competing and playing hard, and obviously we want to take a good look at our young players and put them in situations where, important situations, I guess, where you can evaluate them from the standpoint of where they are and the improvement that they make over the next 20 games.
I know you have to play each night and you have to go out and finish out the season, but is there any sense of, okay, everything we just went through leading up to the trade deadline, we're going to have to do that again once the season's over because then the trade moratorium is lifted?
I don't think we really spend any time with that. That's not in our department anyway. Our department is to, to put guys in a position to try to be successful on the court, to try to have them execute as well as they can on the court. All the other stuff is in a different department than where we are, and so we just try to take care of what we have the ability to take care of.
Alvin, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure, Jack.
Well, thank you.
Alvin Gentry's handled this situation about as well as a coach possibly could. He knows the deal. Everybody else knows the deal, and he's the one who's got to talk about it every single night. I want to talk about some of the opportunities that have been created for the guys we talked about in the last segment, Diallo and Okafor. But as a coach, as the guy who's got to stand there every day with all the microphones in your face, when there's something like this going on, do you dread that day? You know what questions are going to be asked. You know what's coming your way, and yet you're going to have to answer.
Yeah, I think there are times, and we've seen it from Alvin, there are days where he's just not in the mood. And as a human being, you have to respect that.
Yeah.
But then there are other days, because of his experience, because of what he's seen, the greatness that he's been around, he finds ways to eloquently speak and articulate the way he just did with Jared.
Right.
And lay it out real smoothly. help people understand that you can only control certain aspects of this situation, and we just need to focus on the things that we can control. And he's doing a really good job in a very difficult situation.
Alvin also happens to be a good man, which doesn't hurt as well. We talked about Diallo and Okafor. Okafor, as you mentioned, has basically revived his career in New Orleans, putting up good numbers. And Diallo here, particularly lately, has made some eyebrows raise a little bit with his performance.
Yeah, I think the thing that Shake does that's different than, and you can see the graphic here in terms of their production, both of them scoring and rebounding at a high level, both of them blocking shots, but look at the defensive rating difference there. 112.7 points per 100 possessions when Okafor's on the floor, 104.4 when Shake is on the floor. And the reason for that is similar to what we said about Embiid. He's long and he's really active. He's taking up room on the weak side. He's going to 2-9. He's going to step into the lane, shrink the floor. He's going to do all of the things that he's coached to do on the defensive side of the ball. And you have to give Okafor a lot of credit. Here's a player who recognized what the league was telling him and was humble enough to listen to that input. He was out of the league for a spell. He understood he needed to get in better condition. He lost weight. He became more fleet of foot. He really addressed his weaknesses. Oftentimes, young players that are really accomplished just won't change, and they won't accept what the league is telling them, and Okafor certainly did. And from Shake's perspective, all he's ever been is a dirt-working overachiever type,
right.
And that's exactly what that team needs right now. You know, Alvin talked about in that interview with Jared, he said they're going to be paying attention to competing, playing hard, and they want to give young kids opportunity. Well, what makes you stand out like a sore thumb on a team full of guys that don't really want to play out the string is playing like you really want to be there. Yeah. You can't help but look good in that circumstance.
Defense has always been the big knock on Okafor, obviously, but he's noticeably leaner than in previous years in the NBA, and certainly seems to have played his way into another deal, whether it's in New Orleans or somewhere else moving forward. Lots more coming up here on the Auto Trader pregame. Warriors already in progress in Charlotte. That's Klay Thompson, 14-12, very early on in North Carolina.